everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Mike Delisio.
Yeah, so we're here talking about our experiences at the big Essen, or the big Spiel Fair in the city of Essen, Germany. The four of us went. Also, Kenny and Camilla, they're not able to be here right now. So we are, though. We're just going to give you our thoughts on it. This was the first...
liked it.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thanks for coming in, everybody.
Goodbye.
Well, so two of us, Chris and Mike, it was their first time.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've been back since 19.
Yep.
Because it didn't happen in 20, and 21 was a very small fair. We were... I don't
International
remember our
travel
exact
harder.
reasons for not going.
Yeah,
but
we just didn't go.
Yeah.
We
Well,
just
I mean,
didn't go for
international
whatever
travel
reason.
also harder
very
at that
tricky,
point.
yeah.
Trickier, I guess is a good word for it. So
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the numbers were just released, like 159,000. Of course, their numbers are so crazy. They count, if you go 5 days, they count you, or 4 days, they count you 4 times.
Right.
So 30 people were there.
No, but I mean, you take 159 or whatever it was and divide it by 3.
Ish. Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
I met a lot of people who said, this is my only day here.
Yeah.
A lot of people on Thursday, we met that way. A lot of people on Friday.
That is true.
Saturday for sure. But anyway, it's like, I guess 30% lower than 19. It didn't feel lower to me.
It felt a little lower to me.
Did it?
Yeah, a little lower.
Did you try to move in Hall 3 on Saturday?
Saturday was, of course, the busiest day, but I thought both Friday and Sunday felt slower than they have in the past.
To the point where I was, having never been before, you were describing how laborious it is usually to get around in the halls, and I didn't find it that at all except for Saturday. Saturday was the only day that I thought, okay, this is going to be trickier.
Saturday and Hall 3 most days I felt. Hall 3 to me felt busiest of all the halls.
It's the
And
big mama jama.
Yeah.
There's also, between the that big long gallery
Gallery A.
and Hall 2, and then that straight passageway into Hall 1. Because so many people went through, every time I was like, I'm going to go from the gallery into Hall 2, I was like, oh no!
Yeah.
There was always a ton of people that walked through Hall 2 and Hall 1 right there.
That's
anyway,
true.
If you've never been before, there are 6 halls. 3 is the biggest hall. It's the first hall there's 2 main doors.
Right.
That's where all the big German publishers are.
Right.
Hall 1 and 2 are where all the main other publishers are. Most of the American publishers, the bigger ones, are in there.
Yeah.
In fact, Asmodee takes up half of one.
Yes.
Correct.
And then Hall 4, 5, and 6 is where everybody else goes. And the farther 6 is where I'm pretty sure the last people to pay
The
went.
more esoteric type of things where you'll find like the art, you'll find some of the strictly
artwork,
board gaming
weird stuff.
stuff.
Ameritrash.
Inserts and weird coming to Kickstarter stuff and
Wargaming.
soft serve ice cream. I mean, like
Right.
literally, like a lot of
Like
random
donuts.
things.
Wine.
Right. Yeah,
alcohol
that's true.
booths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
Hey, what did you think about that? With like the food booths just scattered in. There's not a lot of them, but they're just suddenly you're at one.
Yeah.
I thought it was so weird that I walked by. I went to the Galleria because I assumed that's where you could get the ice cream and stuff. And I'm like eating it, and I walked by somewhere in one of the halls. No. Later that day, I walked through. I was like, there's a soft serve ice cream booth in the middle of Hall 6. I thought that was really bizarre.
Yeah.
I also went to that booth more than once.
I didn't get any soft serve ice cream there. I feel like that was a miss.
Yeah, I love that. They take the
Soft
soft
ice.
serve ice cream, then they dip it in a thing of sprinkles.
There's nothing
I don't
wrong
know
with
why
that.
I like that, but the smoothie, I mean, the slushies are where I was at with those.
I noticed
I
you
like-
had a slushie multiple times.
I
Yes,
did.
Yes.
And I like that green flavor, whatever it is.
Oh, the one like the food
It's
of
like
the
the
gods.
same as the Jello, yeah.
Yeah. That was fun.
Apfel.
No, it wasn't Apfel. It was different. There was a particular name for it.
It tastes like green.
Yeah, tastes like green.
Thank you to everybody who came by. We got a
Yes.
lot of gifts, which we have shared with the people here in the studio. We have a whole cabinet full of candy and Stroop waffles.
Yes.
And
Which we're apparently pronouncing incorrectly, by the way.
Past tense. Had.
I'm sorry, Stroop waffles.
Stroop.
Stroop
There it
waffles,
is.
yes.
How do you say it?
Someone said that it's not like R-double-O. It's
More like an OA, like an O.
yeah,
like
stroop
stroop
waffles.
Stroop.
Stroop waffle. Apfelschorle.
Anyway, thanks for all the Stroop waffles.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it just, and I will say that at Essen, I feel like there was possibly a bigger, overwhelming feeling of excitement of people seeing us
I would agree with that. I was telling my wife Tiffany about that yesterday. I was saying I felt how to put it. Just people are excited to see us at all the conventions. I mean, which is very nice. I mean, it's a very nice feeling when people appreciate what you do and give you positive reinforcement. But it felt just a next level higher here, and I'm guessing it's just that we're, maybe meeting people that thought that they would never have a chance to meet us before. Whereas at Gen Con, you know what I mean? You can almost assume we're going to be there every year,
I think so. It's that idea of I'm never going to run into this person. Oh my goodness, I will be able to meet this person.
Right.
On a different continent.
Yeah, that removal. That like the long shot nature of it.
Yeah.
I think makes it. And they might never see you again also.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah.
Where someone who typically goes to Gen Con, I can keep running into you each year at Gen Con,
Sure.
So I think that might be it.
I'll say this too. There's been this discussion, I know you've talked about it before, of size, comparing it to Gen Con. And it does seem to be like there's this pushback of, they're about the same size. I've only been to the one Essen, and it's smaller than you said in 2019. This felt clearly larger to me than any Gen Con I've ever been to.
But again, we're looking at just the exhibit hall.
I get it.
When you go to Gen Con, you forget that there's that exhibit hall,
Oh, I know.
which is clearly smaller than Spiel. But then there's that huge gaming room.
I know. There's
and then
the
there's a
Exolery.
second floor.
Yeah,
and
there
then there's
is.
5 hotels. They are literally, if you look at the numbers,
Yeah.
they are the same size.
I'll just tell you feel-wise.
Oh, no,
it
that I agree.
feels
If you-
much larger.
And
than
if
this.
you're mainly concerned with board gaming,
Yes.
That's the big one, I think.
Right.
then it's bigger because you're not worried about miniatures painting or role-playing sessions or any of that stuff.
Collectible card games
Yeah.
and all the other things
Right.
that fill up a lot of area in Gen Con.
Yeah.
But if you're not searching for that, you won't realize how much of that there is and how many people are only in that part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the international flavor of it.
Yes.
So, of countries who stopped to talk to us, I met people from South Africa,
Yep.
Estonia. I mean, I'm not even talking about the main ones. There was Netherlands, obviously.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still think it's number one. Although a lot more Germans came by this year, for
Yeah.
sure. France, Italy, Belgium. A lot of people from Belgium. Poland, Czech
Finland.
Republic.
Yep.
Finland.
Finland a lot, yeah.
All the Nordic countries,
And then-
Sweden, Denmark.
Some interesting, Chile and some of the South American countries
Brazil.
too. Brazil, yeah.
It was funny, one guy said Chile, and I was like, oh, and he's like, that's in South. I was like, I know what it is.
We're in the same,
I just paused for a second. I was trying to think of something to say about Chile.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of related to that, my favorite kind of area of the fair was 4 and 5, halls 4 and 5, because those were the booths that I was most interested in kind of seeing. The Asian publishers, the smaller publishers from, areas that I had not ever seen before at a booth.
Right.
That was great. I found myself more often than not spending time in halls 4 and 5, somewhat 6, but mostly 4 and 5.
Yeah, they're
I
not
loved
so
those booths.
tiny that they have one weird looking game and you're like, I don't know. But they're also not Asmodee.
Right.
They're somewhere in between those two things, and
Yeah.
it's cool to be able to find that discoverability of these things there at Essen,
Yeah.
That you can see a giant booth at Asmodee and then walk a little bit and you are at this person who's made 2 games.
Right.
They look well made, but you've probably never heard of them.
Right.
I think that's really neat, and that's one of my favorite things about this fair is that you can have that cross-pollination with these kinds of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, for
The
sure.
Taiwan board game design booth, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Was pretty big.
It was big. The Korea board games, too.
Yeah, and I've not heard of before Taiwan Board Game Design as a
okay.
company, and so all of their games were new to me, and they just had tons of them. There. It was really impressive, and that's exciting for someone like me to say, like, cool. I wouldn't have seen this if I hadn't come to Spiel.
Do you have a favorite hall? For me, it was
The
5.
gallery.
It was
Korea counts
probably,
the hall.
it was. It was probably 5 for
Spiralized
me
deep
too,
fried
Tom. That was
potatoes.
probably my
I like
favorite.
the hall where you can take the stairs all the way to the top.
I liked 4. 4 had a lot of cool stuff. 6, I would have liked more, but 6 had some empty spots.
Sure.
And then there was whole aisles where I was like, I'm not interested in
Right.
any of this.
Sure.
5, though, just felt like that's where you find the gems.
Right,
Like
I
you go around
agree.
the corner, like, oh, what is this?
Most of what I bought came out of 5.
Is that where you got the? Is that where we saw each other and we saw the axe throwing thing?
No, that was
That's
4.
4.
4's the best one then.
The little axe throwing thing was adorable, and also those people stood a little bit too far downstream of the axe throwing for my comfort.
I agree. They were not that. Yeah, they were open sides. They were not that close to the target.
One thing that was also different I found for Essen from other conventions I've been at is that there, more than anywhere else, you'll see the same game being sold at 12 different booths. Sometimes it'll be language edition, sometimes it'll be something else, but you also have, game sellers that sell from all different publishers, and they have the brand new games there.
do.
I don't know, they must have some kind of an arrangement.
This
but
is something you don't see at any other con. Gen Con is
Gen
about.
Con has a big issue with
Huge
that
issue
actually
with
because
it,
there
yes.
are policies in place where if
Right.
a new game is out and the publisher is there with that game,
That's the only
secondhand sellers cannot sell it there.
Well, if the publisher asks to do that.
Well,
But which is-
there
they
are
would
policies
want to
in
do.
place that could be put in place. I
Also,
guess
if I
I
remember,
should say.
Gen Con
I didn't
had
realize that.
Yeah.
Gen Con had Miniature Market and a couple other small booths, and that's
did.
fine. Again,
Sure.
you go see the publishers, but if you're looking for old games,
Oh,
that's
man.
one thing I do like about Essen.
Yes.
And
Oh, my
I was
gosh.
telling Z, I'm so glad I'm not new to the hobby because I would have gone through these booths and been like, €5, €10.
Oh, my gosh,
I'll take
yeah.
I'll take the whole
All of
shelf.
them, yeah.
There's so many. I still remember the first time I went to Essen. That was overwhelming. I was
Sure.
like, I want that whole shelf. I want all those old hobby
because
games.
you can't
I
see
want all these
those,
games.
anywhere else, or you pay a huge premium. We were even talking
That
about
was one of
things
my
like
favorite parts.
broom service. It's like, oh, that's really hard to get here. They have stacks of broom service for like €9, brand new. You know what I mean? And lots of games that are hard to find in certain parts of the world. They have huge stocks of there.
There's
So
a stack of El Grande like this tall.
Yeah.
Same thing. It was like 25, 30 euro or something. And I thought,
yeah,
that's all in German.
right.
And El Grande is a game that has a lot of cards
Sure,
with very
sure.
specific text on them. So I thought, oh, that would have been cool.
But it's tempting, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens
Yeah.
to me all the time too. I saw an old copy of I don't know if you guys will know this one, but Tom will Capital, the Alan Moon game.
Oh,
Really?
jeez.
I saw that there, and I was like, what? The one used copy.
Left
Which-
on Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nuts. It's
Yeah.
I love that. Those are some of my favorite booths to go to, and these guys will
Yeah,
testify to that because as we're walking around, if we walk by one of those, I'm like,
Yeah, you were
I'll
definitely
be right
called.
there. I love looking at those.
It's
Now,
just
there's some
a
things I
bar.
didn't like about the selling, and I heard feedback from people is because the hall opens at 10 in Essen.
Yeah.
Or actually, they didn't open it too early this year.
No,
we
they-
warned you like, hey, they open at 9:45.
They were pretty good about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
They open it at 10, but exhibitors, of which there are a ton,
Yes.
were allowed to go around and buy, especially if it's sold to. So I know some hot games almost sold out to other exhibitors or people working at booths.
They did.
And also, you could sit down and start demoing the game, and if there was only 4 games, so people run in the hall, and all the games are already filled with people who work for other booths
Right.
but have off. And I heard a decent amount of people complain about that.
It definitely happened. I mean, you saw it happen. You know what I mean? I will tell you, they didn't run out of this, so it wasn't an issue. But I saw Woodcraft, like people were walking around with that on Wednesday, basically. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and,
for
and it was
sure.
everywhere. And so, again, when they have enough stock, I guess it's not a huge issue. But certain games, like
Limited stock.
I know Cat in the Box was gone like that, and I know that there were
15 minutes is what
Right.
they said
I know that
sold
the
out.
Wolves, they had to start apportioning small amounts every day. That sold
Nova
out.
sold out, and that game's
Right.
been out for a year.
Right.
There was, but the thing about that is, my response to that is there was still a ton of games to
Oh
buy,
yes.
though.
Yes.
Like, oh, you couldn't get this new hot game, but there were some hot games that were there. The one, what did, I don't know, did you just said Revive?
Revive was super hot. Yeah.
Revive sold 2,000 copies.
They were gone.
And if they had brought another 5, they may have sold. I mean, that game was
they were gone.
very hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think were the hot games there? That was one, obviously. You mentioned
Woodcraft.
Woodcraft.
Live Woodcraft.
Endless Winter.
Endless Winter was
was
being
super
sold
hot.
The one
everywhere.
thing about Endless Winter is that it was everywhere.
It was
That's the thing.
everywhere, yes.
Revive, I only saw at their booth.
Sure.
Yeah,
Endless
yeah.
Winter, I saw at a bunch of booths.
It was-
there, like you'd go to these, like we said, sort of shops, just secondhand or whatever, and then have their used games and their whatever. But then some new copies of Endless Winter there too. I kept seeing it.
It was interesting. There's that Fair Play magazine, right? A German magazine, and they have, I don't know how they do their rankings, but theirs was Cat in the Box. There was a tie for third, for three-way tie for first. It was Cat in the Box. it was Tribes of the Wind, and then one that really shocked me was QE. So it must have been available in German for the first time. So
Fair Play has the problem, not a problem, but they do the same thing BGG does, the hotness,
people
except
can
Fair
vote.
Play, if I understand correctly, is still like very old school.
Yeah.
In fact, one year I went by, I took a picture of the top 10, and the guy's like, please make a donation if you're going to do that. I was like,
Wow.
well, I don't want to make a donation to
Yeah.
Fair Play.
Right.
But people come up and vote, so therefore it's skewed by quick games you can play at the fair,
Right.
Cat in a Box, QE, games that are near that booth,
Yes.
things like that, availability.
And also certain publishers are more actively campaigning for that than others too.
Sure.
And that
Absolutely.
shows up. I think Heat was hot. There were a lot of people at the Days of Wonder booth, and well, I wasn't trying to be funny.
That was
obviously.
one
It
of the
wasn't totally funny,
yeah.
but-
That was definitely one of my I should
Yeah.
say one of my most anticipated games.
Me too.
And I think Asmodee and Days of Wonder usually dress up their booth a little bit, and I thought that was really cool. They had a fuel pump there,
Yeah,
a bunch
whole
of tires,
old school fuel.
yeah,
Yeah.
tires and stuff. So the whole thing was really really neat, and they were busy.
One other kind of, I don't know if you'd call it an issue, but certainly a topic of discussion at Essen this year was that there were a number of publishers who were dealing with customs issues. I know Mondu Games didn't get like their big games until I think Saturday. So hopefully that didn't affect
I'm not
them
even sure
too
they
poor.
got all of them.
I don't know
Korean
if they
board
got
games,
all
I
of
think, didn't get their stuff either.
Yeah. So I think that was an issue that many publishers had, was that there were games that were stuck in customs. Didn't get their stocks. One publisher didn't get any of their games. I'm trying to remember who it was, and it was a pretty significant publisher. I can't remember offhand who it was.
Wow, I don't know.
But I remember someone saying, yeah, they came and none of their stock got there.
Oh, man, I
Maybe
didn't
someone in
hear
the
that.
chat will remind me, but I can't remember who it was. But I was like, man, that's rough. That's really rough. So that also, I think, played into some of the hot games that people wanted may not have been there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still amazed. The one thing, again, I see it. Essen is clearly a shopping convention.
Yes.
The number of people who walk by our booth or anywhere I went with wagons, with suitcases.
Yes.
I mean, people, and they're like, yes, this is our second trip through. Some people, that's the only show they go to a year, and they buy all their games there.
Sure. Sure.
Yes.
Very few people walk by who weren't carrying at least one game, and if they weren't, they were like, we already bought our games and put them in the car.
Yes.
In fact, did you see the bag check area? It was in Hall
yes,
7 as the
seven.
empty hall that you walk through to get to Hall 6.
Right.
You can check bags and
Wow.
drop
Yes.
off a whole bag of games. There's like it's just filled with suitcases.
I didn't know what that was, but that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that whole area they had where you could ship out your games too in the Galleria.
That was
very
never empty. There was
interesting.
always
No.
people. So, what did you all think of the media room on the first day? Because this is, I think, the one thing Essen does better than anyone else.
That was really cool. It was a really unique experience to say, hey, here's almost every new game of notoriety that you could imagine, all in the same room.
It
And
was
just have fun.
fantastic. It was
A very
fantastic.
small room too.
Right.
You can get around very easily.
Yeah, I mean,
With all the publishers and designers.
yeah, Reiner Knizia, Uwe Rosenberg, and they were just like there, Freedom and Freeze. It wasn't, they were just kind of doing their thing, and so that was great. It was a perfect, I think, mix of if you had questions, someone was going to be there to answer those questions, but it wasn't people pushing a demo on you either. There wasn't like this high pressure of desperation of I want to show you this. You know what I mean? It was I'm
Sometimes you'll
here.
get a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but it is not the same as when you're out in the halls. Yeah.
Yeah.
The games are too crammed together, right? I mean,
Correct.
You can't really take a picture of one game without taking a piece of another one, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's so many things crammed into one, again, fairly small room that you can consume a lot of this new information very quickly in there.
Yeah. What's your opinion on, I have an opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. The amount of games being presented and demoed in the halls that were not out yet, upcoming crowdfunding. Did you feel like it was a high percentage of games or a lower maybe than you've seen in the past?
It actually is higher than I've seen in the past, only because Kickstarter has increased to be that much.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, it was half of Hall 6
Yes.
and the back 2 rows of Hall 5.
Right.
And honestly, I stopped going to them after a while because I kind of go to Essen to see games that are out, not games that are coming up. But I get why they're there.
Sure. That was kind of my thought too, is that I expected more of it, and I think that they were kind of localized to particular areas. There were only a couple times where I'm like, oh man, this game looks great. Oh, it's not out yet.
They were all together, which is good. Like you said,
Yeah.
mostly together. They were kind of in the same area. So once you clued into that, these games aren't here, then you could compartmentalize that in your mind. But I agree. It's such a shopping, and there's another thing I'll come back to, but it's such a shopping convention that having all these games there that you're just promoting for Kickstarter or, GameFound or whatever. Just seems a little counterproductive, counterintuitive. I understand that they're probably getting a lot of exposure there, and that's solid. But yeah, it seems weird. Now the other thing that you just reminded me of talking about this is there's a lot of booths there. This is not a few like the Kickstarter guys. A lot of them that are manufacturers.
Yes, that's true. We talked about that. That they were wondering why.
Yeah, you're like, there's a booth and they make games, as in they
Yes.
produce them, they manufacture them, and there's another one, and there's these guys, and oh look, they show a bunch of games. Those are from different companies. What are they selling? Oh, nothing.
There's
They
the
made these.
manufacturing of them.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot more business to business stuff.
Which is odd for a
weird.
shopping fair.
Right, and that's even weirder. I
Right,
thought
right,
that
right.
the Kickstarter stuff, the Kickstarter guys want our money, like
Sure.
the consumers' money. Those guys don't.
Yeah, but if you're going to meet all the publishers, they're all there.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
weird that they have a booth to the public,
Right.
as opposed to they do business somewhere.
Like going to Nuremberg or a trade show.
Right,
right,
sure.
right, right.
It just seems a little like a
I
weird
think
mismatch. If you're
it's-
walking around with your kid shopping for games, you walk up to them, it's like, you have there's no interest.
Right.
Yeah, do you want
This
10,000
isn't
copies of
for
something
me.
printed? That's what we do.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it must work though.
It must.
And maybe
work.
I am some Joe Schmo like, I'm going to do a Kickstarter. Oh, I know that game. That's a good game. And you're the one who made it? And I actually felt that way because, honestly, we know Panda.
Yeah.
And we know Long
Pack.
But the rest of them I don't necessarily know their names, but I walk by and be like, oh, they made that game. That's pretty good production.
Yeah.
GameFound had a booth there. right?
GameGenic had a booth there. Yeah, big booth. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because people walked up. We were talking with one of the people from GameFound there, and what he said was, someone asked him, like, just straight up, like, why do you have a booth here? He's like, a lot of people still don't know what we do. Don't know that GameFound is an alternative to Kickstarter. They were there primarily for business-to-business stuff, but it was
Yeah.
also still useful to the public eye to just be a known entity in the hobby,
Yeah.
to kind of have that name recognition.
Well, Kickstarter also had a booth, I think.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and Backer Kit was there. And then there was
Yes.
also like a couple. There's one company I can't remember their name. They were like their job is to promote and push Kickstarters. They were in
Yeah.
hall 2. They were actually in our hall.
Oh,
They had a whole
okay.
bunch of demo games. I don't know if you saw them. When you came in and out from the Galleria, and that's all they do is they
Oh,
promote
I think
games.
I know who you're talking
if
about.
they were anywhere near the Haribo stuff, I did not see them, no.
That's fair. Certain booths are a little bit more eye-catching.
Right.
This more than Gen Con was, Mike and I talked about this. We walked up and down the same hallway 10 times over
Right.
the course of the week. We'd walk by and say,
Never seen this booth.
never seen this booth in my life.
Right. I've walked past it 10 times, didn't notice it. You know, there's just so much.
Well, you know that marble ramp Christmas tree,
Yeah, yeah.
which is my find at the fair.
5, yeah.
By the way, you told me where it was. Camille told me where it was.
I
went
sent
and
you
kept-
a picture of it.
I kept looking for it,
With
but
the
it's
booth
because
number.
the people from the opposite side.
Yeah.
I would get close and they'd grab me and I talked to them, and then I would keep going and I just missed it.
Yeah.
It was like a blind spot.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
I found it.
Right. You did find
I'm
it
also
eventually.
going to back that when it comes out.
Sure you are. You
I
were
also
very
mentioned
excited.
in one of the Gen Con vlogs that you have to walk around at this fair. You have to walk around a whole booth because
Yeah.
the stuff, like, I walked by the CGE booth a bunch of times, but I didn't see that gigantic underfalling skies because it was on the backside of a
Right.
booth that kind of looked like it was like up against a wall, but no,
Yeah.
you could actually walk around it and see something completely different.
Yeah.
I want to give props to Repost. I love their marketing. They have the funniest marketing. In the press hall, they had some guys running around with wands for their new Harry Potter
Stupefy.
Stupefy. But in the fair itself, each day they went around in 2 different ways.
Yes.
They had a bunch of leprechauns or something in a cart.
They were in
like at the
green
parade.
bodysuits. I don't know if they were leprechauns. They were in green bodysuits.
But
that's
Leprechauns
for sure.
was a different day.
Oh, is that,
Oh no, you're right. It was leprechauns. The green bodysuits. One day they had like a guy
were-
in a prison pile of laundry, and they just go around and just push their games.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have no shame whatsoever? Yes.
Right.
Can you be loud in an entire exhibitor hall? Absolutely. You're hired.
You should have seen when they had the game When I Dream came out. They pushed a guy around in a bed sleeping.
Yeah, I remember seeing
I've heard
that
of
picture of
that.
that. I mean, but they do a really good job of representing what their brand is, right? The vast majority of their games are these silly party games, and you know, I agree with you. They come out every time you see them on the floor. They have tremendous energy. They, you know, they're able to do it without being obnoxious, if that makes sense. A lot of times, sometimes I find that stuff obnoxious, but they seem to genuinely have fun doing it. So if they're not, they're really good actors because they seem to really be having a good time, getting people excited. You know, it's really, they do a great job.
You had mentioned that you had seen some other people doing some of that marketing that crossed that line
Yeah,
into
that was just like
obnoxious.
cringy. Yeah, it's like, okay, come on already. Yeah.
There is a difference, and what they were doing was odd and bizarre, but kind of fun.
Oh, I'm amused by it. I thought it was great.
The other thing I noticed about Essen, if comparing it to other conventions, but since it was my first time, was, and I mentioned it in one of the vlogs, was just there is a huge push for family and children's gaming, which is so cool to see. I mean, they're not afterthoughts. They're not stuck in a corner. I mean, the Haba booth is a huge presence. It looks like almost a preschool.
Yeah,
It
because
looks
they have this
super
whole shelf of
inviting.
games that you can take a game off and play with your kids.
Yes.
The store for Haba is actually in a different location.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And then in that hall, there's a jumping house. There's a guy doing circus games with
Oh
kids.
my gosh, huge
If I
Jenga
lived there, I
stuff.
would definitely take my kids.
Yeah. Right,
Even if they didn't like board games.
Right, they'd have
I
a good
agree.
time.
It's a good day out, right?
Yeah,
You're like on
it's a
Sunday,
fair.
we're gonna go
Right.
to the fair, right?
Right.
It is a fair, and so get some food, look at some juggling, and play a couple of games, and whatever. Have a day out.
Parachutes, they did
Yeah,
all sorts of activities for kids to do.
Yeah.
And some of them, I was like, I would like to do that.
Yeah.
But I will definitely whoop that kid on racing the Hot Wheels.
yeah.
Racing the little, they had these marble ramp things that were just like continuous, hypnotizing. Like,
Yeah.
I think a bunch of us ended up filming different footage of the same thing.
Oh my
'cause-
word! I got caught there for a really long time.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm such a sucker for marble ramps.
The other thing is you had those areas that had the mass market games, you know, Unos, and that demo area was consistently packed. There were families there playing, you know, the newest iteration of Phase 1 and the different Uno, and so that's another thing too, is that
Phase
you know
1 would be great, by the way.
yeah, right, or whatever, Phase 10, whatever it is. But yeah, so I felt like it was a more broad spectrum of gaming there than any other fair I've been to.
That being said, if you're claustrophobic at all,
Yes.
if you want, it's an I still think it's an overwhelming experience. When I leave at the end of the day, I have no desire to come back.
No.
You know, I mean, I don't mean ever. I mean, like, I don't say, oh, I wish I could stick around. In fact, they have a lot of parties there.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to get out. I need some air. I need to be somewhere else. And I'm an extrovert, but it takes a lot out of you.
I agree, but at least there are more, and I hadn't thought about this till now, but there are more access points to fresh air at Essen than anywhere else. Like
I
even
definitely
in the
found
main
a lot
halls,
of them.
like it's like there are
Yes.
doors, and I would frequently take advantage. Like I need to step outside.
I agree. That's true. Gen Con, it's harder to get outside.
It is, yeah.
Just
Here
to,
you could be in the
catch
middle
your
of a
breath
hall and just
anyway.
like, oh, there's a door out. You know what I mean? So that's refreshing too.
All right, those are some of our thoughts. We'll take a few questions and answer what you might ask us about this. I know some people already asked questions, but just go ahead and ask them again if you see them. You know, just different things that we thought about or whatever it might be that was there. I want to say, though, I had an overall good experience. It was very tiring. Very tiring.
Yes.
And I was ready to go home on day 3, but I also remember I was coming off another convention.
Yes.
Don't recommend that, actually. But I do appreciate everyone came by, and I thought our live show was a lot of fun.
Yes, great
A lot of
crowd.
people came to that, and the audience there, as always, just one of the best audiences we have anywhere.
They really
Everyone was
are.
into it, and the losers did a good job warming up the audience for us, and it was just
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Yeah, echoing that. Exhausted, but I felt like I really appreciated having that experience. It was something that I've been, you know, kind of a bucket list item, you know, for years for me. And so I was trying to, even through the jet lag and the physical and mental tiredness, trying to be present in the moment and appreciative of the experience, you know what I mean, that I was having. So
Okay, I will quickly say, someone asked what's a hidden gem. We played almost no games there at all. We don't know the hot games. People always ask us at the fair. I keep meaning to make a big sign that says we don't know the hot game, and we don't know the hidden gem.
No.
But we'll hopefully over the next few months we'll be able to tell you that stuff.
Yeah. I played one demo the whole time. I played the Unconscious Mind demo.
All right. How did you cope with jet lag? And how was jet lag?
I cope from jet lag by basically not sleeping for the first 5 days that I was there.
I didn't sleep well the first couple of nights, so I think now I'm just now getting back to where I need to be. So it's just a thing. It's a struggle. You gotta push through it.
Takes a couple days, and ideally, I know you struggled even more than that, but yeah, you spend a few nights not sleeping so high.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But being in the mess is so energizing that I'm sure a few times I looked very tired to some people. I tried not to, but it was genuinely exciting.
Roy, can you use them up because I missed about 200 questions.
Okay.
Keep going. Okay, there we go, right there. Let's see.
This one here.
Yeah, we've already covered that one.
Sorry.
Okay, we did. Did we go to Artemis? That wasn't the name of the Greek restaurant, was
No,
it?
it's Odyssey.
Odysseus.
Odysseus. Or
Odysseus,
something.
something like that. It was amazing. Great restaurant. It was a long wait for the food.
Long wait.
Like, we were done eating at like 10:30 or something.
Yeah,
It was pretty-
Yeah.
But it was a really good food. Man, that food is amazing.
I didn't love my plate that I ordered, but the appetizers were astonishing.
I ordered a gyro, and it was not like any gyro I'd ever had. So, but
well, my food was
yours
really good.
looked good. What did I think of the food at the fair? I'm going to hold off on that because I'm going to be giving my top 3 food items.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
tomorrow.
later.
Oh.
The live show is not going up because we didn't record it. I'm not really recording many live shows at fairs anymore, so.
It's so hard to have to drag out the equipment to do. Like Gen Con, you're lucky because they have a whole setup for that. So.
I think this is a good question from Jordan, shockingly. No, kidding, Jordan. Do you have a sense that Days of Wonder are getting back in the saddle after a few quiet years? I think yes. I do. I do
don't know that
think they've
out
had
of the saddle. I mean, they had a few mad games, but then we do a game.
But that I think amplifies.
You might not like
that.
Heat still.
I may not, but I mean, it's certainly this game has more buzz than anything since probably what 5 Tribes, Yamatai.
Yamatai was, I think, the last like really buzzy game.
I guess so. I don't know. This might be also the one that's different, and then it's back to form after this.
Right.
And by form, I do mean now the new Ticket to Ride.
Right.
And, Deep Blue Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Ooh,
Yeah, we
Deeper
don't-
Blue.
One thing I did notice is that if you liked old school Days of Wonder, just start looking at Mojito because man, they just keep bringing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now they announced they're bringing back Mystery of the Abbey.
Oh, I know. I saw that.
Oh, did they?
It was a
Yeah.
very small. It was a
is
very
what they're
small
doing.
announcement,
Yeah,
but
we saw a little bit more info on that.
Whoa!
oh no! Oh.
Z and I basically designed the game.
One thing I'll say that's also distinct before we get back to questions here is that so many of these booths have business areas that I didn't see at. I mean, Gen Con has a little bit of that, however, but there's a lot of like, hey, come into the super secret area. And
Yeah,
It
for sure.
definitely is that.
The red curtain. There was a lot of that. Yeah.
I would go back in some of these booths, and some of you would have a heart attack. And they're like, "Here's a new game. Don't tell anyone about it. Look
Right.
at this game." I'm kind of not as excited about that as I used to
Yeah.
be, but I could definitely see people being super jealous.
People
of
would
that.
fall out of their seats for some of the stuff that I've seen.
All right, scroll up a bit, Roy. Let's see where we're at here. Keep going. Again, we didn't play games. Keep going. Chris, you wanted to say something about a booth, by the way we're here.
Yeah. We were talking about like those demo games that aren't out yet. The ones I was more excited to buy were the ones that said like this will be out in 3 months, rather than
Yeah,
we're going to
yeah.
kickstart it and who knows when they'll come out.
Yeah.
That Orange Shell Overcome, the Dutch Resistance game. I got a demo of how that works, and I'm very interested in it.
Yeah.
I like that theme a lot, and we're starting to see a few more games with that theme.
Yeah.
I hope it becomes a popular theme, well-researched history.
I remember covering that on crowd surfing and
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, so
I
it
felt
looks
very bad.
interesting.
I filmed a bunch of stuff, forgot to put any of it in the vlog. So
One person did
Sorry,
ask
Marcel.
about the hottest solo game there, and I was originally thinking, well, I'm not going to answer that because I don't. But I think I do know. I think, believe it or not, Resist was probably the hottest.
Oh,
solo
for
game.
sure.
There's a few that rise to the top immediately.
Yeah.
Stellarion, Resist.
Yes, those two I think were probably the biggies.
You know, there's a few that
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
I mean, very much solo player first, right?
Yes.
But I agree, Resist was getting some good buzz.
I think it sold out.
Yeah.
I think they sold out of it there, so good for them.
Peter asked about thefts. This has been an issue in the past
Yeah.
for sure because there's so much cash. And cash is still kind of king at Essen. I think
100%.
you could use credit cards at a decent amount of booths.
There was one booth that only took credit cards. That was the only one that I went to that was like that. I can't remember the one that I got, your Rapido game Makers, maybe it was.
But I definitely heard of at least I heard of at least one booth that got robbed. That's very unfortunate. We definitely keep an eye on ours for that reason.
You got to get
it's an
past
unfortunate
Kenny
thing.
or Uli. Good luck. Good luck.
Don't say that.
No, don't.
Well,
Don't.
this is not a complaint. It's a little bit of a complaint. More than any other fair, people felt very welcome to just kind of walk into
That
our area.
is true. Yes.
Yeah.
There were,
If you feel like I'm talking about you, then maybe just take a few steps less into the booth.
Yeah.
Because, and it's not that we don't want to talk to you. It's not that anything, but cash boxes do get stolen.
And there's a lot of people back there.
Thousands of euros get lost, and it can
Right.
really affect companies.
Yeah,
it would,
yeah, right.
It would affect us. So yeah, you
Right.
can't come into the booth. Sorry.
Pierre says, was there a lot of exclusives or were most of the games available retail? Essen is 100% where a lot of games are shown for the first
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
For sure. And then you don't hear about them for another 2 months sometimes.
That is true.
But you will be able to get them.
Yes.
Never feel super jealous that you didn't get Teletium or Heat. I just put it to the wrong games.
You got it. Nailed it.
It's Teletium and Heat.
Right, there you go.
Got it.
Perfect.
Well, years ago, when I was a Dice Tower, when I was a meager Dice Tower reviewer, I always felt like you guys would cover stuff from Essen, and then it wouldn't get like a general U.S. release for sometimes over a year later.
Yeah.
You know, it happens, but there's so many good games
That is true.
that you will have plenty of games to play in that year. You know, and so it
And they are coming over faster now.
They are.
It's a little faster than a year typically, but it's still sometimes 6 months.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I get it. I understand that feeling. You'll have things that they don't have. You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, that's the way it works out.
They feel the same way. People in Europe feel the same way about Gen Con.
yeah.
And I
all
know,
these
and
games
I know they feel the same way about those Target exclusives. Because man, I get it, but people in other parts of the country or the world are not happy about that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Let's see here. Keep going.
German trains live up to the hype. Well, it was no game of Ticket to Ride, but I found that the train system to get from the hotel to the Messe was excellent.
it worked
I
out.
had no complaints. No, I really don't. I can't complain that it was busy a couple of times. That's just the way it is. No, I mean, I had heard that, they break down a lot. They're not on time. I think the longest I waited for a train was maybe 12 minutes, and that was at night. So
that worked out.
that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
Your favorite non-board game item there, not food related. For me, 100%, the marble Christmas tree. It's a Christmas tree. That's also a marble ramp.
Non-board game, non-food.
There was a few things. For Christmas was the juggling stuff, right?
Yeah, you like that juggling booth?
Oh,
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
some
that-
yo-yos at that booth that I dug.
What about art? Did anyone
is
buy
a
any
joke.
art?
I did not. I think Camilla did.
Camilla bought some art,
Remember
right?
that Kenny bought a piece of art too.
He did?
Yeah.
Kenny's a refined, cultured man.
Wow, Kenny's he's an enigma. I didn't see a whole lot of non-food, non-game stuff that I wasn't gonna buy art necessarily just because it takes up space.
We
but
saw that one booth that had like a Nintendo 64.
that was funny.
That was
Yeah, a Sega
And,
Master System.
Yeah, Master. What was that? Master Drive or whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
Drive 2.
Mega Drive 2.
Mega Drive. Yeah.
Yep. That was fun.
There's weird stuff there.
The little, well, that's board game related, but all the little bits, that one place, like if you were really wanting to do prototypes and things like that,
Yes.
yeah, definitely that booth was pretty impressive.
I think
Yeah.
some of that marble stuff, like in the Galleria, you can spend a good amount of time in that Galleria.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, there's like some of the children's stuff, which I got caught up in for like 20 minutes. They had some really impressive marble ramps there.
Yep.
Most surprising thing you saw? I think the most surprising thing that I saw was, and I feel bad for this game group, a gentleman came up to the booth and he pointed his camera at us, his phone, and he said, "Hey guys, could you say, hello to the something game group?" We couldn't understand the word. He said like it was like a German word, and we're sitting there asking the person, "Is it pronounced, something something? How did we say that right?" And he goes, "Thanks guys," and he left.
It was a little, we're like, "Tell us when you're ready." Ready, and then he walked away. So we felt, I don't think we said what we were supposed to say. So yeah, I felt a little bad about that.
So that was the most surprising. When that fellow walked away, I thought, oh, we didn't live up to
clearly a lack of communication there. Yeah, there was something lost in translation.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever get lost? I never got lost. You get disoriented sometimes, and sometimes you lose track of, okay, I want to get to 3. Where am I at now? Okay, I'm here. How do I get to, okay, I have to do that. I never felt lost. I was never like, where am I? How am I going to get back to the booth?
Yeah.
It was nothing like that.
They're good with their signage there,
Yeah, they
actually,
are.
because you
They're
can look up and see
not
the
bad.
big giant banner that tells you what hall you're in.
Right.
And then near every door, there's a map.
Yes.
I don't like those maps though because they're not in alphabetical order. So if I'm like, I know that Adlungsspiel's in this hall, I have to go through. They have them in booth
no,
order.
I
I'm
meant
like, come on.
No, I meant like the geometry of the hall of the Mesa
Did you ever?
map.
I never get lost because I know the halls pretty well now. But 100%,
Wow.
I would walk down. Whatever. I've been there a lot of times. I'd walk down an aisle
Wow.
and look at a booth, and then start walking the other way. And after a while, like, wait a minute. I completely turned around.
Yes.
I was going the other way.
You did get a little lost then.
I
Yeah.
got
Not
turned
lost. I
around.
just got turned. I started going the wrong way.
I got turned around a lot of times. I was
It's not
looking.
a flex.
I was looking
Stop
for a
flexing so
specific
much.
booth, and I knew it was in Hall 2. Okay, is it in this aisle? Is it in this aisle? Oh no, because of the way that booths are sold, they're any shape, so it's actually in
That's
this
true.
half aisle, partway in between things. You cannot always find things walking one direction. You
Right.
have to kind of come the other way.
Yeah, and the numbering system was a little odd too.
It's
for
weird.
Sure,
I only have
but
to
yeah.
use it once or twice.
Yeah.
But doing the whole so Hall 3, K 120. Okay, I'm like, okay, letters. I'm in like, okay, I go this way. I'm like, wait, no, this way. And then wait, the number this way. It's not. It's not the easiest thing to find it if you're using the number, but you'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what else?
Do
we got?
companies give out a lot of promos? Oh my word, yes. There's promos everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, you buy a game, they throw like promos in the bag.
Right.
So
Did you get the Carcassonne promos though? Did they have every single year?
okay, so what I did is I didn't go by the booth because
Okay.
at that first time you and I walked by it, I mentioned
Yeah.
it, that I said I'm not going to go buy it because I'm not going to buy Carcassonne stuff that I don't play.
Right.
So someone brought up a question they get to ask a lot, which is,
Did I
how
buy
do you
the
feel?
giant Bard head?
No, not the
No,
Bard
I
head. There were some people complaining that you could buy games there that have not fulfilled to people yet, Kickstarter-wise. My personal opinion is you can feel however you want to feel and be okay with that. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. I get that for there's not a huge profit margin with board games. I don't think that this is usually done in a predatory manner of we're going to get them, you know what I mean? I think usually it's like, hey, we don't have a whole lot of extra cash flow. I don't begrudge the companies of that. If that bothers you, then that's valid. I think
Maybe
you
don't
have to
kickstart
right.
stuff
I think
at
you
that
have to
point.
go into crowdfunding nowadays with the expectation that games are sometimes going to be sold before you get them. We were joking about the Endless Winter. It was everywhere there, and I just now got it now that I've come back.
Today.
It wasn't that big of a deal, honestly. I actually had backed a Kickstarter game that I saw there.
And bought again.
No, I did not buy it. I went to them and I said, hey, I backed this in the U.S. Can you give me any idea? I see you have it here. Do you have any idea when it's going to fulfill there? And they're like, well, probably at the beginning of the next year. They're like, did you set up for Essen pickup? And I said, no. They said, well, we can do that now. So I went in and I was able to pick it up there. Now, I paid for shipping that they didn't ship, but that was a decision I made. I could have
Did they
waited till
reimburse
January.
you for that though?
No, I didn't ask them to. So
You should flex a little bit more. I'm Mike DeLisio.
I never get lost in this hall.
whatever.
Where's my
to me,
shipping money?
I think this is an interesting discussion, but I felt also I don't know if there's a clear answer. I
We'll
think-
talk about it more in one of
Yeah.
our back talks.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I will say the one exception to that, I agree with Mike for the most part. There was at least one company at this fair that I know hasn't fulfilled many of their Kickstarters.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And that company, I won't even go by their booth because that I don't have tolerance for. If you don't fulfill your Kickstarters, don't show up at a convention.
Well,
especially if you're behind on them,
and
right?
especially if you're a massive booth with dozens and dozens of demo tables, dozens and dozens of people helping. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But again, if it's I haven't got mine yet, that's okay by me for me because
I haven't either,
you have to
yeah.
get these booths way ahead of time. They're very expensive booths, and then to not sell product on them seems silly.
Yes. Oh, did you know that Met is raw pork, Mike?
I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
To clarify, our German friends Uli
Yes.
and Borg
Oh, you're throwing them right under the bus.
absolutely said to me, that's raw beef that you're eating.
Yeah.
And they laughed about it.
I did not see Splatter there. Someone asked about Splatter.
I didn't either.
I
I didn't
went and
either.
specifically hunted them down.
Yeah.
Oh, I looked them up in the app and they weren't there. There was apparently a really good app this year.
I should have done that then.
Yeah, and everyone said this is the first year that the app has been helpful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's more interactive than people realize, I think.
Yeah.
Like you can double tap and it expands and everything.
By the way,
else.
shout out to Jason. If anyone's friends with Jason on Facebook or so, give him some love because
Yeah.
he got pneumonia
terrible.
and missed the entire convention, but he was still in Germany.
He was there for setup, so he had the worst part of it. But he
I didn't
missed
see him
out.
on setup day.
I thought they said he was there.
No, he stayed home for setup
Because that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah,
because he was
that's
not
a shame.
feeling well. And then, boom, that was it.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
loves flying to a different country to visit their hospital system.
Yep. Hotel situation was great. We were right by the train station. No issues there.
Yeah, I would definitely be good with that.
All right.
I think it was a solid amount of, at the end of the day, a nice variety of games there this year.
Yes.
You know, people every now and then like to ask, are you seeing more games, fewer games? Is there a clear hot winner, you know, a sort of
Right.
leading game? Is there not? I'm like, no. I think there's a nice variety of games for families,
Yes.
Euro, deep, heavy stuff, light party things. It felt like a good mix this year
did.
at the show. You know, I thought
did.
it was if you, no matter what category you fall into,
Yep.
you'll find something there that you'll like, I think.
Right.
Alrighty, well, I think this is a good place to wrap this up, folks. And I know we didn't get to all your questions, although there's a super chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe. Good to see you. Yeah, I know
Great to
that
meet
some
you all,
people, again, I don't want to keep harping on this, but if you want to see one of our live shows, come to one of our live shows. They're mostly game shows, so
Yeah.
you're not missing a ton of content.
Right.
And we're planning on bringing game shows to the channel at some point in the future, so keep an eye out for that. And I might reuse some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Why not, right? No, don't reinvent the wheel, Tom.
I got it.
I'll get all
I
the
did the
Also,
same
use
way
the same one so I know all the correct answers.
I'm all over it.
Not that you'd actually remember them. But,
I've already forgotten all of them.
Alrighty. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for watching. We'll be coming back live at 2 o'clock with crowd surfing. So we'll see you then. Until then, though, I'm Tom Vessel.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Mike Delisio.
Thanks again for stopping by at the booth and saying hi.